Hello, welcome back. It's pretty cold today. I really need this to warm my hands up. In fact, it's raining and it doesn't feel like it stopped raining since my last video. It's just so wet. I've not been here that much over the last month. I have managed to get quite a few things done though, because there was one day when it was quite warm and sunny and I just put the phone, my camera down, and I just got on with it. I had a few jobs to do, like sowing my green manure and some of the things that I'll show you, but I just sort of bashed it out because I knew I wouldn't have much chance for the rest of the month because it's just so wet. You know, I wish I could tell you that I've got loads of weeding done, that I've sorted out the strawberry patch, but that's just going to have to wait because the conditions are just terrible and I'm only really here for one day a week on a Saturday. That's kind of like my allotment day, and I'll try and stay here for a few hours. And the shorter days are here now. In fact, the clocks go back to night tomorrow morning, an hour. So it means that next week it will start to get dark around 6 o'clock, I think. No, even earlier than that, probably about 5:30. And then as we go into winter, it'll just get a bit earlier and earlier, which is a depressing thought. I don't like the short days at all. So I can't come here after work. So I get even less jobs done here on the allotment. But that's okay because things are slowing down. There's not too much to do. But I do still have a few plans for winter and bulbs to plant. I've ordered a load of bulbs. They'll be coming in the next few days. And you might be wondering, is she going to grow tulips again after what happened when they all got destroyed by rodents? And the answer to that is yes, because I love tulips and I couldn't bear a spring without them again. But this time I'm actually going to grow them in pots, and I'm going to take the pots home with me until they actually come into bloom, and then I'll bring them to the allotment where I can see them, and hopefully they should be sort of rodent proof then, because you know, they've shot up. So that's the plan for those. I've ordered a range of different bulbs, which I'll show you when they arrive. I've still got my coat and scarf on, and I don't think I'm going to take it off because it's quite warm in here. Sorry. I've just put up some bird feeders on my plum tree. Remember? I'll show you in a sec, but I've got lots of bird visitors. I'm having lots of blue tits and some robins, and that's really just nice to see. What else have I been doing this month? Well, I've been actually just using my produce and preserving a lot of it. I've got so many apples still. Thank you, by the way, so much for all your suggestions on last month's videos. Ideas on how to preserve them, such as making like a crumble mix, you know, the apples, but actually storing it in a jar rather than in the freezer, because I don't have much freezer space, which is great. I'm definitely going to dry some. I've got my food dehydrator on the go, and yeah, just thanks for all your suggestions. But I do here have some jars to show you. I'm not very good at sort of videoing cooking and that kind of thing. I follow recipes. I don't usually make my own. I know some of you requested videos of me cooking at home. It's not really something I want to do at the moment, so maybe next year we'll see. I do tend to cover them a little bit on my stories on Instagram because I just prefer it like that, it's a bit quicker. So what have I made so far? I've got my chili jam, sweet chili jam. This is using the, which chilies did I use? It's the Sugar Rush peach chilies, and if you've not already seen it, there's a new video that went up quite recently of me and my boyfriend, and we eat all of the chilies, or one of each of all of the chilies varieties that I've grown this year. And so it's the Sugar Rush peach chilies that are in here, and it's quite a spicy but hot, sweet, sticky kind of jam slash sauce. So it's not thick enough that you could cut it with a knife, but it's not runny either, like the runny dipping sauce you get with sort of Chinese food. But I just love it with cheese or in sandwiches, or just dipping things into. It's just really, really good. So that's one of my favourite preserves to make, and I've got a lot more chilies to use up So lots more chili jams, I think, because quite a few of my friends like this as well. Beetroot. I've pickled all my beetroot. I say all of them. I think there's still a few more holding on in the ground over there. But this is the majority of them. I think I've made about 4 or 5 jars. They're sliced this time. Before I have grated it and made it into like a kind of relish so it's easier to spread. But this time I've gone for thick chunks because my boyfriend likes that. And again, it's great with cheese and crackers and that kind of thing. And we're back to the chilies. I've pickled some of my jalapenos and I've got a few jars of these, and I've still got more jalapenos to process, so I might preserve some more in this way. But I've also had the idea of making some jalapeno poppers, or doing a Russian roulette style game and stuffing them with sort of like a cream cheese, but a few of them have some Scotch bonnets chopped up and mixed in, and then you sprinkle some breadcrumbs over the top or some Parmesan cheese and then roast them in the oven. And it's a recipe I've spotted online, so I might try that as a bit of a game with my friends. I know in the past I always used to do a recommendation, and I've not done one for quite a while now, but a new book has come out and it's by Jack Wallington, and I think it's his first book. He's a gardener, garden designer, he's got an allotment as well, and this is his book and it's called Wild About Weeds. And it's about how, you know, we call weeds weeds and we don't like them in our gardens, and they get a bit of a bad reputation for being there, but actually it's looking at them in a different light, because some of them really are quite beautiful and do have their place in a garden. It's just managing them so that they don't get out of control, and perhaps making sure that the real thugs don't become an issue in your garden. So it's about how you can actually garden design with weeds. It's a really fascinating book, it's really beautiful, and it teaches you a lot about them. And what I find great is that it's got all this really insightful information that I just like to geek out over, you know, like the Latin and family names. And I think even if you're not interested in garden design, it's still good to know your weeds, and especially if you can identify them from a really young age. I'm not talking when you're 5 years old, I'm talking about when the plants are really quite small, because the better your ability to do that, the quicker you can get on top of them. And I'm going to enjoy reading this. You know, I'm often finding weeds and thinking, what is that? I don't know what you are, but you keep popping up, or you're actually quite pretty. Can I keep you, or will you become a big problem? So anyway, this is my recommendation. It's available on Amazon and I think most good bookshops. I didn't pay too much for it. I think it was about £13. So yeah, Wild About Weeds, garden design with rebel plants. Please check it out. And also Jack Wallington on social media. I really want to go out there and show you around. I don't have too long today. It might be a fairly quick tour because I'm going out this evening. We're going to a Halloween party, so I've got to get dressed up. Anyway, I'm going to finish this and I'll see you by the gate. So let's see what's going on this month. Look, my rose is back for another bloom. This is my generous gardener. Oh, the light's terrible. Let me come around this side. My generous gardener rose. A little bit caught in the rain. Let's remove that outer petal. Beautiful pink. And a few more to come. I just put up the bird feeders and filled it up. And look, all the blue tits have arrived. Oh no, that's actually a great tit. I don't want to disturb them. Oh. The pear bird feeder was actually given to me as a gift from my parents on my birthday. There's loads of them. I really don't want to go down and disturb them. And inside the pear is some mealworm and some little suet pellets as well. So the plan is, whilst I'm here, to take off some of the spindly branches on the plum tree that's died. Just turn it into like a bird feeding station, so hopefully I'll get some more little bird feeders up. Oh, it's gone to the other one. That long one is actually rat proof, or at least it advertises it as. Oh, the little robin. Well done. They're not usually very good at feeding from bird feeders like that. Oh, it must be dinner time. Okay, I might go down now. Well, as you can see, the dahlias in my raised bed are still hanging on. We haven't had a frost yet, so they're still blooming, but looking a bit withered. So this will be my bird feeding station from now on. The woodpeckers have actually stripped all of the bark, or at least some of the bark, off the tree, and you see all these holes? That's where they've been getting at the grubs. Oh my god, there's a bird right above me. It doesn't care that I'm here. Yeah, so this will be my bird feeding station from now on. Well, this area here has had the squash plants removed, and this year, before the squash was growing, I had some garlic in this patch, and I've since sown some green manure, the field beans. They will be popping up in the next week, I would imagine, and they will sort of replace all the nitrogen in the ground and protect the soil over the winter to stop all the nutrients from leaching in the heavy rain. On a dry day, these strawberry beds are my main priority to sort. I mean, look, how pretty is that weed? I'm gonna have to look that one up. I don't know what it is, but it's really pretty. I think I'm going to grow a blueberry in this patch. I might get a really big pot and fill it with ericaceous compost, and then I'll have some blueberry plants here instead, since the blackcurrant has died from the heat wave last year. My succulent little planter, alpine, I always call it a succulent, they're alpines. Just got some flowers coming, look, under the apple tree. Just look at that rhubarb. It's pretty sad. It's all dying back. I need to put them on the compost heap. And the apple tree, I've harvested all the apples now. It's all really drippy, but I'm not somebody that will cut everything back over the winter, because certain insects will live in the seed heads of plants and birds will eat the seeds. They're still really enjoying my bird bath, and now that I've got the bird feeders as well, I think I'm going to attract a lot more visitors. The verbenas just flopped right over in the wind. I'm sorry, I know it doesn't look very pretty anymore, but you know, this is the seasonal shift. Everything has its time, and a lot of things are just going over. We do still have the cosmos though, until the first hard frost comes. We've got lots of buds still coming. But the hedge that runs along this side, it's quite a mixed hedge. We've got hawthorn in there, and some hazel, some rugosa roses. It all needs cutting back. As we pass the shed, we come to my next project, and I've got this raised bed which I haven't filled with compost yet, but I've been playing with the arrangement of flowers that I've bought, just using some of these trays and putting it on top of the planter, and then you can move the plants around as you like. So I've got some heather, some of this silver leaf, and some little pansies as well, and a few cyclamen plants. So this planter is going to be filled with some bulbs as well. That's why I've not planted them yet, because I'm going to put the compost in, put some daffodil bulbs in, which the rodents won't eat because they're toxic, and then put these plants on the top. So hopefully you can look forward to seeing this completed in next month's video. So here's how it's looking from the bottom of the plot. My hose, it's a bit of a mess. I've got lots more to compost. Where should we go first? Let's have a look in the carrot bed. I've not stuck my head in here for a little while. Or maybe I should pull one up. Let's pull one up. Because I sowed these quite late, I knew that they wouldn't be ready until late October, going into November. And the mesh, remember, is to protect it from carrot fly, which attacks my crop most years. So let's pull one of these up. Oh hey! That is, oop, dropped it. Not a bad carrot. I've got two varieties in here. The resistor fly, which is meant to resist carrot fly, and this is red samurai. So it's quite a red coloured carrot. And I'm going to see how that one tastes at home after I've given it a good scrub. But I think I'll leave the rest until we've had a first frost, because carrots are one of those vegetables where the frost will actually turn the starches into sugar and really sweeten it up. But it's really good to see that there is no carrot fly damage on this carrot. If there was, there'd be lots of holes with sort of a rusty orange colour, or even like a dark brown, and they just tunnel all around the carrot. And they're attracted to the scent of the carrot, which is why when you're thinning them out in late spring, you've got to be really careful. So this net looks like it's really done the trick. Now you might think that these two beds look really messy with weeds, but that's actually green manure growing. That's mustard, and I've grown that before, and it's quite fast growing. The seeds actually popped up in less than a week. In about 4 days these little guys popped up, and that's going to cover my ground for most of winter. When we get a really hard frost, it'll sort of kill it back, but it'll still create a mat that will protect the soil and prevent weeds from growing. I just really want to have my entire plot covered this winter. I don't want any bare soil, because, well, bare soil is not very nice to look at, and you know, it's going to get weathered. The rain's going to wash all of the nutrients out. So having a green manure is a great way to protect it. So as you can see, I've still got the leeks in there. I need to harvest those. And I've got a few parsnips which I'll harvest after a frost again, because they'll be sweeter. But these are also susceptible to carrot fly, and I think they might have some carrot fly damage, but I'm going to leave them in and we'll see when I harvest them how they are. But yeah, the mustard is growing great guns right now. I'm still following the no-dig gardening method. So at the end of winter, beginning of spring, I won't be digging this into the soil like you're kind of supposed to. I will either let it rot down on the soil, or I can pull it up and put it into the compost bin. My calendula path is looking a bit sorry for itself now. It has some mildew and it's just getting a bit soggy and, you know, rotting back a bit, but if I continue to deadhead it, then I will still get lots of blooms to keep me going into November. Nasturtiums, they also look fabulous in the rain. So in this bed here, well, it's looking a bit sad. Harvested most of the beetroot last month, didn't I? But the chard will carry on growing right through winter, so I don't have to worry about that. What I do need to do is to remove all of the pea sticks and clear this area so that I can grow some garlic. That's going to go in the next few weeks in this area. I've removed one of the courgette plants that's sort of finished cropping, and this one should probably come. I mean, look, it's still got some tiny little ones on it, but the flowers aren't opening, they're not pollinating very well, and look, that one's been nibbled by something. So it's probably time for that one to come up as well, really. And the border on the left, my dahlia border, I am quite, disappointed in my dahlias, to be honest, this year. A lot of the plants are really far behind. We've not had the warm summer like we had last year, and so some of them are really, really small plants, but this one's done well. I do love the orange. The way it's captured all of those little raindrops. And this is a new one this year that I bought from Sarah Raven. I just love all that symmetry. It's an amazing dahlia. They all look so sad when it's raining. And this is my first cactus variety, and I want to grow more of these next year. I haven't found that my Henrietta's actually flowered yet, which is like a peachy one, but I really like that striking shape. Now you might be wondering what on earth is going on here. Well, this is where I sowed some field beans, more green manure, and I'm just trying to protect it from the birds, but it looks like the wind has actually lifted it up a little bit over here. So they've not poked up yet, but hopefully by next month they will be growing and maybe even a few inches tall. Oh, the dahlias. How did I ever not grow them? Especially in my raised bed. They are magnificent and I'm going to miss them. Okay, let's go in the polytunnel where things are looking quite different. All the tomato plants have gone. It's all cleaned out. I've got a few chilli plants left, and I brought in that plant there, which is a box with some pelargoniums, which I'm going to save from the cold. It's going to be cold tonight, down to about 3 degrees I think, and they won't like that, so I'm just going to try and overwinter them in the polytunnel. But I have sown a few sweet peas, rodent protection. Not coming up yet, we'll see how they do. But yeah, so this is the pelargonium that I'm saving. A lot of people call them geraniums, but they're actually not winter hardy. They're not like the geraniums you grow in the garden. These are pelargoniums, but you can take lots of cuttings from them at this time of the year. Yeah, as you can see, there's lots more Scotch bonnets on there to harvest. And my Sarracenia is surviving. I think it'll be next spring now when it really sort of comes back in good strength. You're meant to actually leave these somewhere cold over winter, so it's going to stay in the greenhouse, or polytunnel should I say, and even if we get a frost, I think, you know, it should be fine in here. They need a cold spell to go dormant, but look, we've got new pictures coming up, so it's okay, it didn't die, thank God. So here we are from the top of the allotment. Here is how it's looking at the end of October 2019. If you're about to get an allotment, you need one of these. A little gas stove is the best thing that I have in this shed. Honestly, it's such a lifesaver when you can make yourself a hot drink on a really cold day. And it is starting to get really quite cold. It's coldest that I've felt it, I think, so far, and it's going to be really chilly this evening. It's been a bit of an odd growing season this year. The weather's just been so back and forth. We've not really had a proper hot summer. We've had a few weeks of warm weather, but it's not really felt like a proper hot summer, especially after last year. Yeah, when I run out of spoons, plant labels come in quite handy. I can't get over how cold it is. My toes are freezing. Oh, it's better. So over the next few weeks I'll be planting quite a few bulbs and my garlic, and it's a good time now to be thinking about your dahlias as well. Are you going to be overwintering them in the ground, or are you going to be lifting them? And that all depends on what sort of soil you have, how wet it gets, and how far north in the country you are. My soil here is quite free draining. I've not left them in the ground before, so last year was actually the first year that I grew them. I lifted them all and then I planted them fresh in spring this year. But this winter I want to leave that long border planted in the ground. I don't want to have to faff with all of those because there's at least 25 plants, and although I could store them in Zoran's greenhouse, I don't want to do all that. So I think they're quite well protected. It's not going to get too wet there, and I'm just going to mulch them with a thick layer of, I don't know yet whether it's wood chip or compost or manure, we'll see. Probably not manure though, I think that might get too wet. So when we get the next first hard frost that really kills the dahlias off, the ones that are in that border I'll be cutting right back and then mulching and leaving. But the ones in the raised bed I probably will lift, even though they'll probably be fine. I want to move them around because the Wizard of Oz, although they're my favourites, they are too tall and at the front, so it blocks the ones that are behind it, so I need to move them around. I think we might get a frost in the next few weeks. I can kind of feel it. Temperatures dropping, and by bonfire night on the 5th of November is always when it's really, really cold. We go to a firework display that's just down the road from us in Nottingham at Forest Recreation Ground, and it's always a really good display. It's one of my favourite events of the year. We have some hot dogs or something, and I just really like bonfire night. I need to order whatever fruit tree I'm going to replace my blackcurrant bush with, and as I said, I'm thinking of going for blueberries. So yeah, I'll be planting, hopefully, a blueberry bush soon, unless something else takes my fancy. But now is a good time of the year to start buying any bare root plants such as fruit trees and roses. You can buy some bare root roses this time of the year too. Maybe you want to grow some rhubarb. Now is a good time to buy that as well and get it in the ground. What else was I going to tell you? Something else is happening next month. Oh yeah, BBC Gardener's Question Time is coming to Nottingham. And if you're not very familiar with it, it's part of the BBC radio station on channel Radio 4, I think. I don't listen to that. I listen to the podcast because it's easier for me to catch up on when I'm at work. Just stick my headphones in. And basically they have a panel of experts, including James Wong, and basically an audience comes in and we can ask them loads of different gardening related questions. And it's coming to Nottingham, and I've got tickets with some friends, so we're going to go along and yeah, take part in the BBC Gardener's World Question Time. It's been a pretty weird year. I think the crops have done pretty well considering. You know, I've still got loads of potatoes to eat, lots of tomatoes and chilies, but I don't think those warm loving crops did as well as they have done in previous years. Oh, my nose is really cold. You may have noticed, by the way, I don't really have any brassicas growing on my allotment, such as, you know, winter cabbages, cauliflower or Brussels sprouts, and that's because they take up quite a lot of space and I don't really eat them that much, so I don't bother growing them, and I find they need quite a lot of work to protect them from the cabbage white butterflies, and the caterpillars just desiccate them, so I don't really grow them, which is why I won't be harvesting any. I tried growing pak choi in previous years, but the slugs just get at them. And I know I could be making more use of my polytunnel over the winter, but to be honest, I don't really eat many kind of salads over the winter months, so I don't really grow in it. But if you do, I would recommend you check out the likes of Stephanie Hafferty, and also my friend Richard on Instagram, Richard Chivers, Sharpen Your Spades. He's trialling growing certain things in his polytunnel which he built this year. But as for me, my winter crops are mostly just garlic and the chard, spinach and the carrots and the parsnips. But thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've had a good month. Let me know what you've been up to in October in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So until the next episode, please take care, and I will see you guys very soon.